Hi there, garden nerds. I'm Christy Wilhelmi from Garden Nerd, and this will be our last video of 2020. But before we get started, I wanted to thank you for watching and commenting and asking questions this whole year. It's been really rough on all of us, and I especially want to thank the 5,000 plus people who joined and subscribed to this channel since the beginning of the year. So thank you, and off we go. Today I want to talk to you about cover crops. This is one of my cover crop patches that I am growing this year. A lot of people ask, what are cover crops and why should I grow them? Well, let's talk about that. By now, you've probably heard a lot about soil carbon sequestration, or keeping the soil covered, because open and bare soil releases a lot of carbon to the atmosphere. So does tilling and a bunch of other practices in agriculture that aren't the best for us or for the planet. So cover crops are one of the ways you can keep carbon in the soil, and it's the old-fashioned way of putting nutrients back in the soil. So let's start there. First of all, when you plant a leguminous crop like these peas here, or fava beans, bell beans, and even vetch, these are called nitrogen fixing crops, where they grab atmospheric nitrogen out of the sky and they put it into their roots. And then when you cut the crop down after a few months, when about a third of the flowers are open, and leave those roots in the ground, they have these little pink nodules on them that are full of nitrogen, and those nodules and the roots will, as they decompose, release the nitrogen into the soil. That's the old-fashioned way of how we used to fertilize. And I think it's not such an old-fashioned way, it's the natural way. So let's think of it that way. Now, usually, the more varieties of things, the more biodiversity that you put in your cover crop, the better it is for your soil, for a number of reasons. So this cover crop that I have here, that I've just started, has peas, bell beans, hairy vetch, oats, and a couple of other things that I always forget. But it's something that you can either broadcast or plant deliberately. Now, let's back up a second. There are other reasons why you may want to plant a cover crop. So you can plant a crop for weed abatement, because Mother Nature abhors bare soil. She's going to work to cover it no matter what. And to you and me, that means weeds. So instead of having weeds growing in your garden over winter, if you're not using it, you can have a cover crop growing that's going to actually benefit the soil come springtime. Some of the other reasons for planting a cover crop are the nitrogen fixing, like I mentioned, or to prevent erosion. If your landscape is sloped and you need to anchor the soil when heavy rains come, there are soil erosion crops that you can plant that will help. They put down deep tap roots and lots of feeder roots, and they anchor the soil in place so you don't have to worry about your soil washing away over winter or in the rainy season. You can also provide cover crops for habitat. If you're trying to attract good bugs to your garden or prevent bad bugs from the garden, habitat provides a nice ecosystem for beneficial insects and other creatures to live so that they don't, eat your stuff that you care about. So let's talk about planting cover crops, because there are a couple different ways to do it. The first one, you may hear or see the word broadcast, which you might not know what that means. It's kind of an obscure, obtuse word for scattering seeds over a seed bed, and that's what we did here. Basically, you take handfuls of seed mixed together, all the different types you want to grow, and scatter it across the seed bed, and then cover it with about an inch of compost. Water it well, wait about 3 weeks. Well, you're going to water it the whole time. And in a few weeks, you'll see it start pushing up through the soil. The second way of planting cover crops is to deliberately plant in an offset row or hexagonal planting pattern, a la How to Grow More Vegetables Than You Ever Thought Possible, unless then you can imagine the Grow Biointensive method from John Jevons. And as you can see in this picture, you can drill holes on offset rows on 3-inch, 4-inch, 5-inch centers, whatever your cover crop demands. And that's if you're, for example, planting one thing. In the picture that I showed you, I'm planting shelling peas, and I plan to harvest those, which brings up another point. Let's talk about harvesting. At the end of the season, it's usually You plant your cover crops in October, November, or December in warm winter climates, and that will grow through until about February-ish, maybe earlier, depending on how early you planted. And the rule of thumb is that when a third of the flowers have opened, then you cut it down at soil level, or in warm winter climates just below soil level. You want to just cut right underneath, and I'd use my hand shears to do this in a small patch. It's only 4x4 for me, but if you need to use a scythe or something bigger to clear your area, you just want to leave the roots in the ground. And for me, because we don't get freezing temperatures, if we leave anything above ground, that's going to start growing again. So I always cut just below soil level, leave all the roots in the soil, don't turn the soil yet. Pile up all that stuff on top of the bed that just came down, chop it up with a shovel or some loppers into about 2-inch pieces, and then cover the whole thing with a layer of compost, about an inch layer of compost or manure or straw or whatever you want to use, and then water it well and keep it moist until it breaks down. Over about 3 weeks, it's going to break down, and then you can just dig holes and plant your crops for spring in that. Meanwhile, the roots are degrading and releasing all of that nitrogen into the soil. The second way of doing it is to let the crop, if it is an edible crop, grow to maturity, and that's something like your fava beans or your bell beans or your shelling peas or something like that, or a wheat crop. We grow wheat a lot of times here at the Garden Nerd Test Garden, just a small patch just to try it out. Turkish red, Sonora white, we've grown triticale, we've grown rye, that kind of stuff. So in those cases, you're going to actually wait until that crop matures, harvest the crop itself, and then take the biomass and chop it down, chop it up, and either lay it down on the ground, cover it, like I said in the first example, or you can take that biomass away, chop it up, and put it in your compost bin. Either way, cover crops provide biomass for your compost bin. So you get the crop and the compost bin gets the food, which is either in a green state, a nitrogen state, or in a carbon state after it's completely dried and is ready to use as your brown ingredient in your compost bin. So it's a win-win situation for you, your compost bin, and your soil. So there you have it. Cover crops are the way to restore soil fertility, soil nutrients, soil biology, habitats, ecosystems, everything. The planet, my God, everything, really everything. Make a plan to at least plant one of your beds with a cover crop every winter and see what happens. I guarantee you will see an improvement in your soil. For me, I have a strategy where I pick where I'm going to plant my tomatoes the following year, and I plant a cover crop in that bed over winter. And then after it's done breaking down, the whole thing that I described, I put my tomato plants right in with the biomass, and they go gangbusters. So try it, see how you like it, find a cover crop that's right for you. There are lots of websites and seed catalogs out there that sell cover crop blends. The rule of thumb is the more diverse, the better. So pick something with at least 5 different varieties of crops growing in them, and you will see an improvement in your soil, I promise. If you like this video, share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on that notification button. Of course, you'll find information like this and so much more in Gardening for Geeks. And don't forget to pre-order your copy of my new book that's coming out March 2021, Grow Your Own Mini Fruit Garden, where cover crops work really well with fruit trees. All right, happy gardening, and I'll see you in 2021.